Great. Welcome, everyone. This is the International Peace Coalition. This is the 120th meeting that we've had consecutively. Thank you all for joining us, new people and veterans of this process. My name is Anastasia Battle. I'll be your moderator today, as well as Dennis Small, and we may have Dennis Speed in the background, but he won't be joining us in the same way as usual. I like to remind everyone why we created this forum 120 weeks ago, which is to unite the international peace movement, to bring people together of many different philosophies, religions, language, cultures, and to bring people together around this true idea of creating peace in the world. If you are for that, if you want to make that happen, then you are welcome here. And often we find that through this dialogue process, we're able to put aside a lot of the differences that we have in order to achieve the true goals that we're trying to create in the world. So I'd like to invite everyone here on this discussion, whether you're in the Zoom or on any other the platforms, to please share out the invitation with your friends, your family, reasonable enemies, and bring them on for this dialogue process so we can make this process grow. To start us off today, we have Helga LaRouche, who is the founder of the Schiller Institute and the initiator of the International Peace Coalition. Please go ahead, Helga, to start us off.
Hello to all of you. We are in an unbelievable situation, which, it's seeing tectonic changes. It's seeing the collapse of the international order and the emergence of new structures, which are completely mind-boggling. Now, while the assault on Gaza City is going on, threatening the immediate life of anywhere between 600,000 and 1 million Palestinians who are being driven into nowhere because there's no place for them to go, many of them being much too weak by now to even try to escape. Yesterday, another UN resolution to demand an immediate ceasefire, the release of the hostages, and the unrestricted delivery of humanitarian aid was again vetoed by the United States. 40 nations voted in favor, but obviously the US veto means it is not being enacted on. This is the 6th time since the 7th of October 23rd. Now, the Algerian representative, Ambassador Benjama, made a very passionate response by saying, Israel is doing all of that and the whole world watches, and, what is the result for the world community? Now, the big question is given the fact that the UN General Assembly has already started, it will have the meeting of the heads of state beginning on Monday. Will there be any one country initiated UN Resolution 377 whereby there could be a vote if the power of decision would be shifted from the UN Security Council to the UN General Assembly? We have been trying to find out, are there any plans to introduce this resolution? There are many groups working towards it, but the big question is, will there be a country taking the lead? And, will there be a 2/3 majority if it is even introduced? Now, that this would be urgent, one can see by the fact that Israel also failed to meet the 1-year deadline, which was running out yesterday also, where the UN General Assembly 1 year ago had voted with a more than 2/3 majority that Israel has to end the occupation of all Palestinian territories. Now, Israel is just ignoring this. And in the meantime, a couple of days ago, you had the UN Commission coming out absolutely asserting that all requirements of an ongoing genocide and war crimes by Israel is without any question. Now, the South African government made a statement saying this is a vindication of the fact that they brought the case in front of the International Court of Justice, and that they feel belatedly justified of having done so. Now, one cabinet minister of the Netanyahu government, Smotrich, participated in an urban renewal summit where he promised the investors that Gaza would be a real estate bonanza. And he said the demolition phase is already done, and demolition is the first phase of urban renewal. Now can start the rebuilding. Now, obviously, this is the utmost cynicism in front of the fact where, for sure more than 65,000 people have been killed. According to other estimates, much more than 250,000 people have perished one way or the other. And Haaretz, the Israeli paper, wrote the fact that Smotrich mentioned that Gaza would be a great bonanza shows the chasm between what the official line is, what this is all about, namely to eliminate Hamas, free the hostages and so forth, and the ambition behind the scenes of, what is the intent of those committing these crimes. Now, as we discussed many times, the strategic system is disintegrating. And there could be, many aspects named, but there is one completely new major tectonic shift which has taken place, and that is the fact that between Prime Minister Sharif from Pakistan and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman from Saudi Arabia, they agreed on a strategic mutual agreement on the 17th of September, whereby the nuclear power Pakistan is now allied with Saudi Arabia, providing them a nuclear umbrella. And while this is not a complete surprise, given the fact that these two countries had close military ties for many years, it is definitely a major change in the situation. Because obviously the American allies in the region did not feel or don't feel secure anymore for a lack of American protection, which was the reading they obviously drew out of the Israeli attack on Qatar, where despite the fact that the largest US military base in the world is in Qatar, nothing was done to protect Qatar, which is, generally named as one of the closest allies of the United States in the region. Now, Ali Larijani, the Iranian secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, visited Saudi Arabia, and that is important because obviously, the different countries have to be informed about the implications of such a new dramatic shift. And, given the fact that China had mediated in the past the relation between Iran and Saudi Arabia, the previous conflicts had already been bypassed. So it is important that Iran is in discussion with Saudi Arabia on this matter. Also, the Egyptian Foreign Minister Abdel congratulated both Pakistan and Saudi Arabia for the establishment of this new pact. And Turkey and Egypt, for the first time since 13 years, had joint military drills. This was after a cooling of relations in that period. And also Turkey and Egypt are, both having a similar view on the Israeli aggression, not only in Gaza, but also in Syria, where Turkey in particular had accused Israel of trying an expansionist policy in the entire region. Now, but that means that the nuclear umbrella of Pakistan is now potentially over all Arab countries, because they already said the door is open, more countries can join, and they probably will, which means that, you have, well, as expert Professor Ted Postol had said, you had two undeclared nuclear powers in the region, namely Israel and Iran. But now you have also a nuclear umbrella over Pakistan and probably soon all the Arab states. Now, hopefully this will contribute to the stability in the region, but it really shows a complete realignment whereby the old order is clearly not functioning anymore. Now, what is happening in Gaza obviously has incredible ramifications elsewhere. Yesterday, a collective of lawyers in Berlin and aided by the European Legal Support Center and the Palestinian Institute for Public Diplomacy made a press conference, and they presented over 100 pages containing charges of aiding and abetting Israel in committing genocide, war crimes, and so forth, citing the Genocide Convention, the Convention on War Crimes. And basically, they accuse there former Chancellor Scholz, Baerbock, Habeck, Merz, Pistorius, Wadefuhl, Reiche, and the CEOs of those German weapon firms which did supply major weapons to Israel, despite the fact that these charges were already there. Now, the first time when the same collective of lawyers introduced such charges, they were refused by the court for not being relevant and this and that. But I think this time it may look different, because there was the official UN Commission report establishing that the fact of genocide is given, and the former head of the Munich Security Conference, Heusgen, former advisor to Merkel, and also I think former German ambassador to the UN, basically had written in an article with Berliner Zeitung that he thinks this has to be taken very serious. And if it would come to that, it would be devastating. If Germany would be condemned, it would be devastating. Now, I think this is now hanging in the air. And also, there are articles now appearing in the alternative media that Merz is sitting in a glass house when he, in an interview with Sat1 TV on the 2nd of September, had called President Putin 3 times a war criminal, saying that Putin would be possibly the worst war criminal of our time, and that one would know how to deal with such war criminals, that there is no place for generosity. So this newspaper, Manova News, says Merz is sitting in a glass house when he's saying that. And, we should also, be aware of the fact that Germany is being prepared for a military confrontation with Russia full speed, according to the so-called Operational Plan Germany, which is trying to prepare Germany to be the central hub for a coming NATO war with Russia, which may not be 2 to 5 years, as they always claim. But given the fact that, Peskov and I think other Russian officials have already said that NATO is already at war with Russia, this should get everybody on the tip of their toes and completely, upset, because this danger is very immediate. And, obviously, if there are these US medium-range missiles deployed beginning of 26, then that becomes an acute situation, because these are nuclear-capable missiles. And how should Russia know if they are nuclear equipped or not, when they are capable of having such an armament? Now, unfortunately, I also have to comment on the second state visit of President Trump to Great Britain. which, according to Trump, was an incredible honor. He's the only head of state which had this honor for a second time. But from the standpoint of real history, it was a complete abomination. I should pre-state my comments by saying, the American Revolution was fought against the very idea of nobility and monarchies and the idea that there are people who are superior according to their bloodlines to others. And apparently, President Trump, who otherwise is always proud, to say American system and this and that, seems to have forgotten what the American Revolution was all about. Because in the speech of this banquet, which was quite an operatic scene, you had the Queen Camilla with her little crown, and then Princess Kate with also a little crown. It looked like a, I don't want to disqualify too much, but it would look like the stage of an operetta, not fitting the 21st century at all. But there they were sitting. And then President Trump, in his speech, said that, such thinkers like Hobbes, Locke, Adam Smith, Newton, and some others represent the highest achievements of mankind produced by the kingdom. And then he said the British Empire has incredible achievements by laying the foundations for law, liberty, free speech. King Charles uplifted the poor, took care of rural farmers, wounded veterans, and so forth. Now, I mean, I think I don't want to even comment that, because the role of the British Empire in imperialism, in colonialism, in instigating many wars is well known to most people, but apparently not to President Trump. And unfortunately, it is a weakness which I think I can only say is unbelievable for an American president. 250 years coming, the anniversary of the American Revolution next year, to be so history forgotten. I hope this is an English word, but forgotten, having forgotten all of history. He also seems to invite King Charles for a counter visit to the United States. And one can only hope that there are some patriots in America who maybe convince him of the opposite in time. Now, we should remember that behind all of these developments is the fact that, we are sitting on a complete volcano, because the reason why some circles in the West are so determined to contain and even, ruin the efforts by the global majority to build a new system is due to the fact that the Western financial system is hopelessly bankrupt, as my late husband, Lyndon LaRouche, pointed out early and often. But now even Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Central Bank, basically confirmed that what Lyndon LaRouche laid out with his triple curve function, where he showed the different curves whereby the financial aggregates and monetary aggregates are moving hyperbolically upward, and the production of physical economy hyperbolically downward, and that there is a certain point where these two monetary and financial aggregates cross and you have a collapse of the system. So what Lagarde said is that she is worried about exactly that the role and the size of the non-banks, meaning investment funds, hedge funds, securitization vehicles, and insurance companies, and various other such instruments, moved from 140% of the GDP to now 400% of the GDP, and that the non-banks represent now 60% of the European financial sector, and that including also the new role of stable coins, means a threat to the stability of the entire financial system. So that means, that with the anchor of stability, which has been thrown out by President Xi Jinping with his 4 global initiatives, should be considered by the West as a way to consider to have an orderly reorganization of the financial system before it is too late. So I want to end my remarks here, but I think these developments I touched upon are really, enough for us to mobilize more to bring about the new security and development architecture, which must take into account the interest of every single country on the planet, and which, is absolutely in cohesion with the global governance initiative by President Xi Jinping. And I think we should really think about how to put this new architecture on the table before it is too late. So this is what I wanted to say in the beginning.
Thank you very much, Helga, for that overview. And I think people should definitely soak in the reality and the shift that's happened, which you went through very detailed in a very good detail of this Pakistan and Saudi Arabia agreement. This is a complete shift strategically for people, and I think this is very important for people to understand. So thank you so much for going through that. Next, I want to bring in our next speaker. Her name is Purnima Anand, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name, from India. She's the president of the BRICS International Forum. And please go ahead, Purnima, you have the floor.
Namaste from India, Madam Helga, Madam Anastasia and Dennis. It is really wonderful to speak on this forum because I am attending many programs and I saw how you are interacting and how you are collecting the information from all corner of the world. And under it, I am really interested in world peace, and that's why I am liking your sessions and attending these sessions. So as you know that I am working for the BRICS group, as you know that BRICS is a new economic and political coalition, and we are searching new space in the world for economic sustainable growth as well as peace initiatives. During last 5 years, we observed that COVID and this wars in Hamas and Ukraine, how they fractured the current United Nations and world security system. And we observed that we are having differences in whole world between West to East and Europe to other countries, global South. So these differences are rising continuously. So in this atmosphere, we need to discuss and we should have such platforms where we can unite the world like-minded people who really wants peace and sustainable development for the people, for the earth development. So in this case, the first thing is that BRICS, how BRICS arises. As we know that BRICS arises from 2009 and first summit held in Ekaterinburg, where Brazil, Russia, India and China participated. And it was ISCO conference basically, and first BRICS initiative started in 2009. And from 2009 till 2025, BRICS summits are happening continuously, simultaneously, one country to another country, power shifts. BRICS is not having any headquarter or any common place where all BRICS volunteers and workers can unite and they meet and they can talk. Only summits are the platform. So BRICS need more space and more initiatives in the world. And BRICS is not stretching the world. BRICS is another example of Europe. Last time I said that Europe is also a group of nations which developed after Second World War for common growth, common financial structure, and common security. Similarly, in Eastern world, BRICS countries are trying together to unite and to search the solution which they didn't receive during last 80 years because Europe decided whatever they wanted and America followed it and American hegemony increased. So Eastern world and global South nations didn't got equal opportunities to grow. So this is the line where BRICS develop and ISCO develop and other alliances are developing. Especially nowadays, we are saying that UAE is uniting, and Qatar issue, Madam Halga discuss, because UAE security, common security is also a question nowadays, because due to Palestine and Israel, issues are very hard to resolve. Genocides are happening, and no common solution is coming out. Every day, people are killing common people, not army only. Common children, women, and old people are killing. So this is really horrible stage. We are looking like a horror film. Every day I am observing that this drones are going, this missiles are going, and this much people died, and so many fractured buildings, this and that. So this is like real horror movie. But why international peace organization are not raising voice against this genocides, against this wars? Because whatever United Nations peace organization were structured, they were sponsored and supported by NATO and Europe and American think tanks. So today they are silent. That's why we need new institutions, new peace organization in the world to cater our interest, cater the interest of global south. So BRICS is one of the group which is developing and doing very good interaction between other countries also. BRICS countries are uh, every year having summit. Last year it was in Kazan, and in 2025 it was in Brazil, and in 2026 it is coming to India. And India is a country who is having good relation with East and West, and non-violence country, because we got our freedom by non-violence without weapons. So this is a model that how we can achieve our goals by weapons, by killing, by genocides, or by peace and dialogue. So sacrifices are always there. Either you are doing dialogue or you are fighting. Sacrifices are happening every day. Millions of people are dying in the wars. So question is that what is the peace coalition initiatives, and what is the role of peace organization for the world stability? And today we find that peace organizations are very weak, or they are very having very negligible role. They are not having any strong position to talk with NATO like institutions, or European institutions, or American institutions. So this is very weak point. So when BRICS is rising and other global south institutions are rising, so my suggestion is that we should have very strong peace and public forums. So if we will have strong public forums, they can talk to the leadership, they can talk to the governance. What we are observing now, all governments in all countries, I'm not saying America only, or London, or Russia, or India, China, all governments are having economic problem. Whatever leadership is saying, they are not complete it for the, they are not fulfilling the promises to the people. And every country, people are suffering by trade problems, by educational problem, health problems, everywhere. Some countries are having some good platforms, hospitals, and education centers, but mostly countries, common people are suffering, and tourists are suffering very much. So why it is happening? Why? Because governments are doing their role, and think tanks are in present in all countries, but still we are not having good infrastructure to tackle the problems. Why? Because people's organizations are not strong, people institutions are not strong, governments are not allowing that they should have parallel people institution. If we want e-governance, if we want digitalization, we need to listen people voice. So I feel that in digital age, somehow we will be able to cater, and social media is playing very important role to raise the voice and to spread your voice in the world. So that's why we are able to get some photograph from Gaza, from some children's photographs. Otherwise, it is banned. No journalist can go in Gaza. So social media is helping us, and we are able to see what really happening. Similarly, in Ukraine, I went to Donbass because that time all news were coming. Russia did this and that, this happened, that happened, but we were not believing. We went ourselves to see zero ground realities, and we find that people are really against the Ukraine policies, Ukraine strategies, and they wanted to come in Russia. We talked to so many people, and I was not alone. We were with 40 countries group in Donbass, and German people were there, American people were there, France people were there. So we were together, and we really saw the reality. And unnecessary bombardment and gun shooting was happening, unnecessary from both sides, just to create the fear and just to create the news all over the world. And people were who were taking some initiative or talking somewhere, so they were shooted by the Ukrainian new colonialism, I can say, because Ukrainian people were also Russian people long back. It means only 40 years back, Russian people and Ukrainian people, same families, same culture, tradition. Only after division in 1992, they become Ukrainian. They divided from the USSR. So in 40, 50, 45 years only, we saw that there is some new kind of neo-colonialism develop, which is restricting Russian people to follow their tradition and language. And they were fighting for this at their borders. And NATO is entering in the Ukraine. So I'm not going in detail of the Ukraine-Russia crisis. My journal think point today is that how peace coalition organization become stronger, who can guide the governments, because sometimes like today we saw the American government, President Trump, every day he is declaring something, and sometimes he is very funny. Some 2 3 months back he started to speak about tariff, and he said that if BRICS countries will speak about currency, then he will put up the tariff on all countries. And then next day he put the tariff on Brazil and China and India. And then he said, if India will do like this, I will put another 25% tariff. And he created 50% tariff on India. And ships were on the sea, and many uh, companies are working every day, goods are going to America from India. Whole trade route was damaged, okay, struggled, and they all stand on the sea, and they are paying very high rent to the logistic companies. So this is all nuisance. Somebody did not guide American president in right way. What is right, needful, need of the hour. So he is getting wrong informations, and then after declaration, he is realizing that he did something wrong. Then he take U-turn. So this is showing that our think tanks and American organizations are not capable to understand and filter the right things. So it is important that in global south, when BRICS is rising or SCO is rising or new institutions are rising, they should have some strong people group of the mindset who are having peace in their mind, not war. So this is the some result of my conversation today to your organization, because you are all the time thinking from all over the world that how peace coalition institutions can discuss and how we can maintain peace and sustainable development on earth under this unfavorable environment. So I think that our common dialogue, these initiatives, and some common conferences will bring new hopes and new world order in new economic requirements of the global south will raise and raising, because BRICS countries are doing good cooperation, and they are searching new trade routes, because during last 3 months our prime minister, when they understand about tariff regimes and all, so they started new dialogue with other countries, African countries and European countries. And nearly 20 days before, 25 countries European delegation came to India, and they sign new agreements with India for the export and import. So whatever goods we were sending to America, we are diverting to Europe and African countries. Russia is also ready to import. So, and during last month, our Prime Minister visited to SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So there we find new alliances, new relation with China and Korea and other countries of the global south. So it is power is shifting, we know, and economic cooperation is shifting, we know, currency exchanges is shifting, we know. So in all these things, we need to take care that we should have good public, people to people organization, and we should think about people centric development, not government centric, not power centric. So people to people, human centric development is the key which can bring peace and sustainable development with the environment thinking. So this is my words today, and if needed, I will come back. Thank you very much to give me chance to speak and share my views on current issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Purnima. And I'll remind everybody that you are the president of the BRICS International Forum, and we greatly appreciate your analysis and also the report on the ground that you were describing with the delegation of people going into places of war and what you experienced personally and what you're seeing. This is very useful, I think, for everybody to hear, and also useful for people to hear your thoughts and analysis of what's happening with the SCO, the BRICS Summit, and how this process has been working. Clearly, there is a reaction happening by many nations in the world. And I just want to acknowledge that for everybody here on this discussion today. We don't always get to hear directly from someone in this way. So thank you so much. So I'm just going to continue with our discussion, and then we'll come back to questions. I see people are already sending things in, and I'm getting messages, so this is wonderful. Next, I'd like to bring in Larry Johnson, former CIA official, officer, and member of the Veterans Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. And I'll just refresh you, Larry, because we've had a bit of a discussion. I know you've been very busy. But just to let you know, we've discussed the ceasefire resolution, which was just vetoed from the UN Security Council. We've discussed the process that's happening with the UN General Assembly, and that they have determined that there is a genocide happening in Palestine, which is a very important development. Also, the big question of there are many organizations organizing right now around the UN Resolution 377. Will this take place? Will a nation actually put this forward going into this UN General Assembly? And then probably one of the biggest strategic shifts that have happened is the Pakistani and Saudi Arabian agreement, which creates a nuclear umbrella, possibly around all Arab nations in the region, which is a very huge shift. So I just wanted to brief you quickly on a number of highlights that we've been discussing here, as well as what you've heard from Purnima. But I also wanted to include, if you have an analysis of what's happened with this Charlie Kirk assassination and this strategy of tension that's happening in the world. Clearly, there's a lot of very big things that are happening that are pulling and ripping at the seams of, both very good and very evil in the world. And just wanted to hear your thoughts, and we greatly appreciate you making time to hop on today. So please go ahead, Larry.
Well, thank you, and my apologies for a late arrival, but as you pointed
No
out,
problem.
had other commitments. Yeah, let's start with the Charlie Kirk, but believe it or not, this all connects to Israel. This all connects to what's going on in West Asia, and with the changing world order that Purnima was talking about. The Charlie Kirk was killed by a shot to the front of his throat. What's interesting is there is a vast information operation underway on the internet right now, suggesting, oh no, the shot came from the side, there was a palm pistol, or no, the shot came from behind. I raise that because that kind of information operation is generated by a foreign intelligence organization. It's not, this isn't just sort of organic to the internet. And what we found out over the last 3 days is stories emerging, thanks to the reporting of Max Blumenthal and comments of Candace Owens and the comments of Tucker Carlson. Charlie Kirk was undergoing, let's call it a metamorphosis, moving away from being the ultra-Zionist that he had been. He had been an uncritical supporter of Israel and all of its genocidal policies. But he started moving away. And one evidence of that was the July 13th appearance at the Turning Point USA conference, when he hosted a debate between Josh Hammer, who writes for Newsweek and is just, as Zionist as you can get, against Dave Smith, who is, although Jewish, a comedian, and he's been a very staunch critic of Netanyahu and the Zionist cause and the genocide. The Netanyahu and the Zionist donors to Turning Point USA warned Charlie, don't have them, don't do this, don't have that Dave Smith there. He also had Tucker there and Megyn Kelly. He received the same warning. And then on August 5th, he went for a dinner with Bill Ackman, who's a billionaire owner, runs Pershing Square. And also Seth Dillon, I believe is the guy's name, who runs the Babylon Bee. And basically they threatened Charlie Kirk, threatened him with financial ruin. And Charlie even intimated to his friends later, he felt physically threatened, that if he didn't stop this anti-Zionist stuff, he would pay a price. Well, he's paid a price. And what we see at the same time, which, and I make the direct accusation, can I prove this? No, but based upon my experience, it wouldn't surprise me. This message that's been put out that Charlie Kirk was a racist. He spent the early days of Turning Point USA, his partner in crime at the time was Candace Owens. She's a black woman, and she continues to be his friend. We had again some of these other Zionist shills out yesterday claiming, oh, Charlie Kirk had gotten away from their friendship was over, and she hasn't spoken at Turning Point for ages. Wrong. She's toured with Charlie last summer at college campuses. So you've got two things going on. One, the Zionist crowd is trying to get control of the Turning Point USA movement, because at that debate in July, 2/3 of the crowd was cheering Dave Smith, the one who was bringing in the critique. So there's something not right about this. And the FBI story surrounding the killer is got some real holes in it. They claim that he had a Mauser 30-06 that was broken down. That means he took it apart and then put it back together. Impossible. Couldn't have done that. Didn't have the time to do it, number one. Didn't have the tools to do it, number two. And the other thing is, once you take a rifle apart like that and put it back together, you lose its accuracy. It's called getting to the zero. And I don't want to, I'm happy to answer questions on that later if people want to know. But the point is, FBI is also lying about this. And there's a tremendous effort underway to protect Israel. Kash Patel, unfortunately, is part and parcel of that effort. We saw it last during his testimony before Congress when he claimed that the only person doing any trafficking was Jeffrey Epstein, ignoring the fact that there's been $1 billion paid out in lawsuits brought by the victims, and they implicated other people, including Prince Andrew, among others. Now, how does this also tie into Israel? What we've seen take place since the attack on Doha is the coming together of the Arab Islamic world in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. And countries that normally are not affectionate with one another have actually shown some level of cooperation. We saw, in addition to the pictures of Pezeshkian with Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, we saw Pezeshkian as well, the president of Iran, with Sisi of Egypt, and they have agreed to reopen diplomatic relations. We saw King Abdullah of Jordan there, and normally he is such a sycophant of the United States that you would be surprised to see him at a gathering in which the actions of Israel were condemned so strongly. But he joined in on that condemnation and announced that they were restarting conscription in Jordan to bring in, to build up their military force, which tells me that he is anticipating military conflict in which Jordan will be fighting, most likely Israel. You had Pezeshkian also with al-Jada, aka al-Jilani, the former terrorist mastermind of ISIS, al-Nusra, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. 2 years ago, the forces of Jilani were attacking and killing Iranians and vice versa. Now here they were meeting together. The Turks were there. The Azeris were there. The statement that was issued was comprehensive. It acknowledged Abdullah as the caretaker of Al-Aqsa Mosque on behalf of the Islamic people. But what was so important about this was you had, the Shia and the Sunni don't always get along, but they were there together. There were also the Turks, the Arabs, the Persians, and the Asians. So this was not a monolith. This was really a multi-ethnic assembly of people that shared a similar faith, and they came to the conclusion that what was done in Doha was wrong. Now, let me point out, there is no way in the world that attack by Israel in Doha could have taken place without the knowledge, if not the full participation of the United States. And I say that because of Al Udeid Air Force Base, which is the forward command center for U.S. Central Command, as well as the location of what's known as the Combined Air Operations Center, the CAOC. CAOC has multiple countries, not just the United States there. It is a U.S.-led operations center, but it coordinates all flight activity from the Mediterranean, the Arabian Sea, up to the Turkish border, and over to Pakistan and Afghanistan. So there's no way that they would not have known that this attack was coming. And in all likelihood, the fact that there are also, my understanding, Israeli liaison officers assigned to that operation center, they fully would have known about it. So what Donald Trump has achieved is bringing together the Islamic Arab world in a way that's quite important. On top of that, we had Iran, and I thought it was a foolish move. I was mistaken, but Iran entertained negotiations with the IAEA, signed in Egypt with President Sisi brokering, mediating the talks, signed a new agreement with the IAEA known as the Cairo Agreement. And I thought it was foolish because the IAEA was, in my view, the primary vehicle for collecting intelligence that was used to attack and kill Iranian scientists during the June 13th start of the 12-day war. But in fact, what Iran was doing was taking the high road. They're showing that they were still willing to work within this so-called international rules-based order that the West is so fond of claiming that it upholds, but it only abides by it when the rules suit them. Iran signed that agreement and did so in order to avoid the snapback sanctions going into effect. The snapback sanctions basically means that all sanctions that were in effect against Iran prior to the signing of the JCPOA agreement in 2015 that all those sanctions would come back into force. Under JCPOA, however, those sanctions were lifted or were supposed to be lifted. But what's happened is when Donald Trump walked away from the JCPOA, neither France, Germany, nor the United Kingdom upheld their part of the bargain. They betrayed Iran in that. Nonetheless, Iran stayed within that system, and they have now signed the Cairo Agreement. And just within the last hour, a motion put forward by Russia, China, Pakistan, and Algeria to the United Nations Security Council to basically keep the sanction relief under JCPOA in place was rejected by the UN Security Council. It's now been rejected. And as a result of that, Russia and China have announced that they think that this is an illegal, invalid action on the part of the West, and they will not abide by the UN sanctions. They will continue to do business with Iran. This brings us back to what Purnima was talking about with respect to BRICS, because Iran now is a member of BRICS, and Russia, China, India, Brazil, South Africa, along with the additional new BRICS members, are moving forcefully ahead, creating an alternative international financial order that is immune from Western pressure. And that is, that's a process. If we recall the Bretton Woods effort, it took 3 to 4 years for that to come into effect. So the fact that this has really been getting underway since last year. I mean, yes, BRICS is 10 years old at least, but the actual putting meat on the bones to drive it forward, that's been taking place over the last year. And sort of the straw that broke the camel's back was Trump's attempts to bully India and coerce them into adopting sanctions against Russia and stop buying Russian oil. The Indians are not stupid people. They only less than 2% of their exports went to the United States, but the oil that they import from Russia is critical for keeping fuel prices low in India, which happens to be used to put fuel in trucks and automobiles and for people to move around the country and to provide energy. There was no way that India was going to commit economic suicide just because the United States wanted them to. So we are in an age of great turmoil. I think that the United States and Israel are cooking up another attack on Iran. But this time it will be much, much different. Even though Iran inflicted significant damage on Israel, this go around, Iran's got the full backing and support of Russia and China. And Iran, fortunately, has smartly decided to accept the help that had been previously offered by Russia and China. We just had a meeting with, I think, the chief of staff of the Iranian military that took place yesterday, day before yesterday. He's in Moscow meeting with Russian defense officials. He had a meeting with their, the head of their energy department, and the fellow in charge of the energy department made the claim. He said, "Look, we look forward to stronger economic and military cooperation." All right, I'll stop there.
Thank you very much for that, Larry. That really does help to fill out quite a bit, and we greatly appreciate your analysis on the situation. I included in the chat for everyone the Max Blumenthal revelation, which came out last week, and I think it is important for people to take a look at this because this does...
Excuse me for a second. Let me just point out, go look at the Candace Owens' last two broadcasts. Well, the first one I know got over 5.5 million views in 24 hours. So I forgot to mention, Bibi Netanyahu's been on television and tweeting 3 times. Most recently today, again saying, no, we were really great friends with Charlie Kirk. Oh no, he was our buddy. Oh yeah, we love Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Larry Wilkerson just told me, he says, methinks he protests too much.
I I agree with the other Larry.
Yeah, yeah.
I also just want to read into the discussion, which this just came across my desk. Very important. This just happened in the last half hour. Trump just sent out a note saying, I just completed a very productive call with President Xi Jinping of China. We made progress in many very important issues, including trade, fentanyl, the need to bring the war between Russia and Ukraine to an end, and the approval of the TikTok deal. I also agreed with President Xi Jinping that we would meet at the APEC summit in South Korea, and I would go to China in the early part of next year, and that President Xi would likewise come to the United States at an appropriate time. The call was a very good one, and we will be speaking again by phone. Appreciate the TikTok approval, and both look forward to meeting at APEC. So this is a pretty significant uh, shift that's happening if this does manage to come through. And I just wanted to make sure this was communicated for the strategic discussion. And I did want to go to Helga to see if there's anything thus far before we go to the reports from the organizing, if you have any thoughts on what's been said.
Well, I think that the principle of non-alignment is really taking center stage. And I think this is a very good thing because, the very idea of block building, that you need an enemy, that you need to defend your interest against another bloc, that has been the source of 2 world wars in the 20th century. And I think we should propose President Trump for the Peace Nobel Prize because he's strengthening the principle of non-alignment in ways he may not have intended. But the result is very productive. And I can only reiterate, I mean, the worst thing which could happen in the West is if now some warmongers are saying we have to crush this global majority. It will be increasingly impossible to do that. And, I think the fact that now Pakistan, being part of the BRICS, being part of the SCO, is now expanding its nuclear umbrella to what probably will soon be the entire Arab world, maybe Islamic world as well. I think it just underlines that the world has shifted, and the only thing left the Western countries could do is, to basically say we stop confrontation, we go into the direction of cooperation. And I hope some of the Russian commentators, I think including Foreign Minister Lavrov, who said that, maybe it was Lukyanov, but anyway, one of the leading Russians said that, the present leadership of the West is incapable of making such an adjustment, and it has to wait until a new generation is there. I hope that that assessment is wrong and that we can effect a reasonable change towards cooperation in time.
Thank you, Helga, for that. And I'll make sure what you had mentioned, Larry, I'm looking for Candace Owens' video. As soon as I find it, I'll include it in the chat for people to take a look at. So I'd like to go to some of the reports. There's been a lot of organizing happening around the world, and we've got at least 4 nations represented, and I'd like to encourage people who are on the Zoom meeting to please raise your hand and get into the queue to give your report later on during the discussion period. We'd love to hear what activities people have been doing, especially around the UN proposals. So next, we're going to have a slight change in the agenda. I'm going to bring in Sebastian Dracon, who is in France, doing a lot of organizing. They had a huge demonstration just a couple days ago, as well as other organizing going into a youth summit in November. And do we have you on, Sebastian?
Yes, I'm on.
Yes,
Hello.
please go ahead.
Anyway, my name is Sébastien Drochon, but it's okay.
Sorry.
So thank you very much. Hello, everybody. So here from France, what I can report is we have every day a huge mobilization for peace and to bring the solutions we're defending here at the International Peace Coalition. So we went to echoing the mobilization worldwide and also in the United States on Monday in front of the UN. We went also in France to distribute Mrs. LaRouche's call, "The nations of the West must cooperate with the new economic world order," in front of the next to the National Assembly and also the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Quai d'Orsay. So we went distributing it and trying to have reactions from some officials, people here coming in the street and taking the leaflets. What I can say is that coming from those people who are, some people, officials in Paris who are working in politics and all other things, what we can say is that the people are starting to change their mind according to Israel. That's for sure. What you're seeing here is it's the leafleting in the demonstration yesterday. It's something else, but anyway. So at the Invalides, what I can say is that we had reactions from people who used to defend a little bit Israel, I would say before, and now they're not so sure that they can defend it. So we went to distribute Mrs. LaRouche's call and also the call to support the resolution 377 to stop genocide those two, and the call of Mrs. LaRouche has been also sent to all the senators and deputies of France and also other officials and maybe embassies or some embassies also. So it's circulating in France. It's for sure circulating, and let's say what kind of reaction we can have from the people who get it and understand it. So that's one thing. Also, as you know, France is becoming, there's a big turmoil. Politics is becoming very changing. We changed the government quite recently, and we had a big demonstration. We also had a big demonstration last week, more popular demonstration, but yesterday it was the labor demonstration. There was between 500,000 and 1 million. It's according to the officials, it's 500,000 people demonstrating in the streets in all France, and but it was surely more than that, maybe 800,000, maybe 1 million. A lot of people, and we went distributing also our leaflets to call to stop the war economy, and a lot of people, were there also to ask for peace and ask to change this economy, to stop bringing money into war and more money into peace. So the people were reacting well. We distributed thousands of leaflets on the question of the debt bargain, the fact that the debt in France is not legitimate and we don't have to pay for that. And so a lot of debates, some contacts, also some journalists who gave their contact. So we remain mobilized on all those things, and we are mobilizing, as Anastasia told you, for the November 8th big event we are organizing in Paris. It's an international event. It's called Africa and Global Majority Together for Emancipation and Peace. And we are inviting you in Paris. It's the 8th of November. And also the day after, we will have a kind of training day, cadre school for young people to shape the young people, the young leadership of this world. And we will have a lot of delegations from the Schiller Institute, young delegations and others coming, also delegations from Africa, from other countries in South America. So it will be a big event, and we are inviting all of you to come. I think in the chat, Clément has put a link, and you have the invitation in the website of Solidarité et Progrès, and it's in English also. So everybody can register, and you can come. You will have the place where all that is organized. So yes, let's keep mobilized, and we invite you on the 8th of November. But between now and the 8th of November, a lot of things have to be done. So thank you for letting me to tell all that, and let's see what happens. So thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian Joshon, for for your report and all the activities that have been going on. We greatly appreciate it. And I mean, I was very impressed. I was looking for the pictures from the demonstration, but there were thousands of people at the demo that you were describing. And I'll include the picture in the chat for people to look at as soon as I find it. But yeah, thank you so much for the report. And this is a great example of what other people can be doing around the world. Okay, so next, I'm going to bring in Jose Vega, who is a congressional candidate in the Bronx, interventionist, and was a speaker at the UN demonstration promoting UN Resolution 377, Uniting for Peace. And this included many people who participate in the International Peace Coalition, including Rafed, Josephine Guilbeault. We had Anthony Aguilar, Diane Sarah. There was many very significant speakers at this event. And Jose, why don't you take the floor and I'll bring up some pictures for you.
Oh, thank you kindly. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, so I got to participate in a rally that we did at the United Nations this last Monday, September 15th. And I want to go over some of the speakers, first of all. But generally, what we were doing was we were meeting in support of Resolution 377. This is something that the Schiller Institute and Helga LaRouche has been pushing for a while now. And just for people who may not know, this allows the General Assembly, in an instance where the Security Council is failing to stop the genocide or stop any kind of catastrophic event going on, and they're unable to intervene because it keeps getting vetoed by one country or something, that the General Assembly can vote on this specific resolution that normally would be only for the Security Council. As we just saw yesterday, I believe there were 14 votes to issue an immediate ceasefire and to force Hamas to release all the hostages. And instead, the United States had raised its hand to veto that. One country was able to veto the Security Council's entire resolution, only speaking more towards the importance of Resolution 377A. So the people who were speaking, yes, it was me. It was Josephine Guilbeault of the Eisenhower Media Group. It was Tony Aguilar, who's been on this platform before. I believe he was on last week. And some of the other people that spoke was Linda Sarzor. She is a big organizer and advocate here in the country. We had Dr. Lama Khoury, representing Doctors Against Genocide. We had Hani Nofal. Now, Hani Nofal was interesting. He had served over a decade as a U.S. Navy nuclear submarine officer. And he was there speaking in support of Resolution 377, denouncing the genocide of what was going on. We had this group, as you can see, this picture here. I apologize that it looks like I have to break my neck just to look over. But this picture here, this was a group, the NKUSA, who were there in support of our rally, in support of Resolution 377A, who were there showing their support and lending us their just their presence. It was truly wonderful, and I really do like this picture of Tony Aguilar with them. I think that that's great. But yeah, and that was also a surprise to me. Then we also had Muhammad Ali, who was the representative of Taxpayers Against Genocide. Then we had Mariam Shoaib of the CARE New York chapter, that is the Council on American Islamic Relations. Then we had my friend Diane Sarah, former U.S. Senate candidate and former president of the LaRouche organization, who was there, and she spoke. And one thing that she had said that really stuck out to me was, we were talking about, Hind Rajab and how many times she was shot, and yet she is more powerful than Netanyahu. Diane usefully compared Netanyahu to Genghis Khan, Nobody looks at Genghis Khan for inspiration anymore. He is just somebody we study to not emulate. And that's what Netanyahu has put himself in, this position to be forgotten in history. But people will always remember Hind Rajab. People will always remember that little girl and how she triumphed over the entire Israeli regime and the Netanyahu government. And then we had Rafed Al-Jabouri of IPAC, the Integrity Political Action Committee, who also spoke, myself, and then Garland Nixon. And Garland Nixon was emceeing the event, and he came in and he gave his concluding thoughts as well. Overall, it was just a great display of force that we were able to unite these different organizations, these different groups. There's our banner there, the UNGA, Unite for Peace. Oh, and that's Father Harry Barry. He started with an invocation for the event, and not just him, but him and also Rabbi David Feldman, who spoke after him as well, who was part of the NKUSA group, and Rafed also gave an invocation. So we had a Christian, we had a Jewish, and we had an Islamic prayer done at the beginning of the event. So overall, it was really, really well done. This was truly a beautiful event, and it was just, there was a lot of, apart from just the horror that is happening in Gaza right now and the genocide that is happening, there was also a lot of hope expressed here, because I think everybody there was definitely future oriented and future focused and saying, this is, once this stops, we'll look forward towards a peaceful world. And so, Father Harry Barry was an expression of that. He's 95 years old, and he was talking about how he was chained up at Hanoi, at an embassy, protesting Hanoi, protesting the Vietnam War. He was in Gaza and Palestine, and he brought us his experience, and he brought us into this overarching process. He was a real representation of how, the arc of justice, or the arc of history, bends towards justice, and he was an expression of that. And it's like as if we were joining him in that process, and it was just overall a beautiful event. So that's my report.
Thank you very much for that, Jose. I think this was a good example, and I'd like to thank Rafed of the IPAC for pulling this together with Josephine Gilbo, with many excellent speakers. I think the video is now available for that. I'll find the link and I'll share that in the chat. So thank you, Jose, for the report. And then next, sorry, I'm just pulling up my agenda here. Next, I'd like to bring in Gerardo Castella. And again, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. I'm supposed to be of Mexican origin, but my Spanish is not fantastic. You are with the Schiller Institute for many years, and you have a report from Mexico on the activities that you and others there, which has been generally very excellent work. I'm always impressed by what your crew is able to do. So please go ahead. You have the floor.
Sí, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Soy Gerardo.
Yes, good morning. I'm Gerardo from Mexico City. This is a report about the activities we have organized in Mexico during the 16th of September, that we celebrated the 215th anniversary of the Mexican independence, and the majority of the population is very happy coming to the streets, and we took advantage of the moment in order to explain about the world situation and the necessary actions and that are important to promote a new paradigm. We remind the population that Benito Juárez was the Mexican president that reestablished the republic and fought against the oligarchical powers in the second half of the 19th century. And he understood that Mexico and United States should fight together against the tyranny of the British Empire. As you know, Benito Juarez and Abraham Lincoln were allies, and they fought against the same invasion. United States was fighting against the secessionists and promoters of slavery, and Mexico was fighting against the French troops of Napoleon. And in many cases, the one who financed the wars was the British Empire. Now, as before, we have to fight as Juarez and Lincoln. And I would like you to see some photos. Maybe they can be shown. And I also want you to know that millions of Mexicans live in United States, several million Mexicans, and it's important to fight against the great corporate cartels in the United States that control almost the totality of both economies, and that's very important. We also went to the universities this week. We went to the National Polytechnic Institute. You can see the photo, the next photo. This is in downtown Mexico City. In the next photo, you can see how we are at the universities. That's in the Polytechnic Institute, which is one of the main ones in the country. We presented the youth the perspective of the BRICS countries. And it's interesting how the youth receive these ideas. They are surprised what the BRICS countries have accomplished. We show a map. You can see in one of the photos where you can see the new members of BRICS. They have joined the BRICS, and they have new institutions, new projects, development bank, and cooperation. And we want the youth to see the great potential that is opening up in the world, especially in the global south. The question that we always get from the youth, and why Mexico is not yet member of BRICS. And that allows us to answer of the necessity of a new paradigm that the LaRouche organization and the Schiller Institute together represent this battle internationally for the new paradigm. We have study groups, and with them, we want to go in depth to the LaRouche's ideas, and we are programming conferences inside the universities, educating the youth to have from there a group that can go to France the next November 8th to the youth conference over there. And that's what I wanted to present now.
Thank you very much, Gerardo, for your report on what has been happening in Mexico. It's always very exciting to see all of the activities that you're doing and the organizing that's being done there. So thank you so much for that. So next, I'd like to bring in Jonathan Thron from Germany with the BUSO and the Schiller Institute. And it's good to see you again. It's been a while since I was just in Berlin and we were organizing together in the streets. So it's fun to have you on, and it's very exciting to see the huge demonstration that you all were taking part in just a few days ago around the UN General Assembly resolution. So please go ahead, Jonathan, and I can pull up that video for you right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, it was a pleasure to having had you, Anastasia, and other friends from USA here. It was really great. And so let me tell you about the, I would say it was a breakthrough demonstration that we had here in Berlin, organized by the BSW, the Wagenknecht Party of Sarah Wagenknecht, who has been member of Die Linke Party, the left, and now since 1 or 2 years she has founded her own party. So it was in many respects, a really good demonstration. And I first want to mention that it's getting easier for us to get our contacts, our networks involved into activities. So I keep telling them it's also a moral test for you to participate actually in the demo and to actually help us distribute the leaflets, because that's what is missing in the demonstrations. There are practically no solutions. So people go to the demo, they want peace, but they don't know how. So we have to tell them what our perspective is. And right, because if we don't stop the war, it will kill us, basically. And so this resulted that we had 5 contacts, helped us to distribute leaflets, and we were 5 organizers. And it was also really interesting that many young people were there at the demonstration. Also, at least 3 of my youth contacts that I asked before if they want to go to the demo and even help us distribute leaflets, at least 3 of them were there at the demo, although not yet in activity with us, but we're working on that. So it was all around 20,000 people there at the demo. We distributed 1,000 leaflets, and so we distributed our, as the same as Sebastian said earlier, the call by Helga LaRouche that the West cooperate with the new World Economic Order, plus 5 measures to intervene against Israel's war. Points that Jeffrey Sachs brought up, and also the UN Resolution 377. So we had overall really good reactions. People want solutions. We also had some short conversations with people, talked with them about the BRICS and the SCO process. So the speeches there all were about Ukraine and Gaza. So the whole theme of the demonstration was stop the genocide in Gaza, which is also another dimension of breakthrough, I would say, because now to be able to call a big demonstration and say that we want to stop the genocide is a breakthrough here in Germany. But yeah, so the speeches were there were basically no solutions in the speeches. They said one thing was to stop, that Germany should stop sending weapons, which is one element of the solution, but much more is needed, as is being here discussed in the IPC. And so there was a 90-year-old artist. His name is Dieter Hallervorden. He's throughout Germany, and I think international, renowned now for his poem, which he named Gaza, Gaza, which is a really beautiful poem showing all the horrors in Gaza. And in the end, he even says, so many people and children are dying, and this should not be a genocide, formed as a question. So it's a really moving piece that everyone can watch in the internet. It's obviously in German, but I think there should be versions with the subtitles. And there were really good reactions to him from the crowd, and because how he approaches that problem. Then a former correspondent of the TV in Moscow, of mainstream media, was there, Gabriele Krone-Schmalz. It was her second demonstration that she had, that she's participating in at all, because in the past she wanted to keep in the background, but now it's so, now she said the time is ripe to actually speak out. And it's always interesting to hear what she's saying, giving more facts. Then also Wagenknecht herself, the founder of the party. It was good that she mentioned that Russia has nuclear weapons. And then Roger Waters, Moshe Zuckerman, Jeffrey Sachs, they spoke. And but as I said, we are the only ones to bring a solution, which is the cooperation with the BRICS, with the global majority. And that's what is really lacking. And so 15 to 20 people signed our call that we distributed online after the demonstration as a reaction, obviously, to our distribution there. And one person even called into the office and thanked us very much. And she sent a donation. So yeah, basically really ripe times for more activities. That's from me.
Excellent. Thank you, Jonathan, for that report. And yeah, again, I just want to encourage people to go out there and organize and do more like this. It's actually very heartwarming knowing what I know being on the ground, organizing in Germany, how terrified people were just a few months ago, and to have 20,000 people in the streets in Germany speaking out. This is so important. This is actually an excellent breakthrough. And this is, I would imagine, is a reaction to what Helga, you were describing just moments ago about how, horrific the decisions have been regarding the buildup for war with Russia and Germany just capitulating around the genocide of the Palestinians. So I think this is very important, and I'm very happy to see this in the streets in Germany. I think there is still hope for our fellow Germans. So thank you so much for that. I think we'll move on to the discussion period, unless Helga, you have something you'd like to say and jump in before we do that. Otherwise, there are a lot of questions coming in. Oh, I see you unmuted. Go ahead, Helga.
Well, I allow myself to disagree with you, Anastasia. No, because I don't think that demobilization is adequate at all. I think that if you look at what is happening in Gaza and how great the danger is for Germany to exist if this warmongering continues, I think the demonstration was good. It was a step in the right direction. But I think we don't need 20,000 people. We need hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions. In the 80s, when the middle range missile crisis was there, we had hundreds of thousands of people, 500,000 in Bonn and elsewhere. And people were aware of the danger of World War III. That was a very acute understanding. Now it is really still a small minority of Germans who are clear about that. And the majority is really brainwashed. They keep repeating this thing about Putin. I mean, you don't have to love Putin, but to accuse him to be one of the worst war criminals and leave out the role of NATO bringing about the Ukraine war, it's just such a fallacy of composition. And, I think that we should not really calm people down. I think we have to mobilize people because the danger to civilization is not banned at all. So, for example, Pope Leo is still not taking a stand on Gaza. And I think I just got a message from one very important person who said that, this person did not leave the church or did leave the church some years ago. But if this person would not have done it then, she would do it now. So I think, I'm not asking people to leave the church. I'm asking people to put pressure on all institutions, including the religious institutions, to take a stand, because this is, I think we are still in mortal danger. So I just wanted to comment, your remarks like that.
No, thank you. Your criticism is well taken, and I think you're right. I think that is true. There definitely does need to be thousands more people in the streets. I guess I'm describing a hopefulness based on previous experiences there, but I agree it's not enough. So thank you for that. We do have a lot of people coming in with questions and thoughts and ideas. So we will continue into the discussion period. I will tell everybody that if you're on the other platforms, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, X, if you'd like to join the discussion period, you must be registered to join the Zoom. You can go to the Schiller Institute website, schillerinstitute.com. Right on the top of the web page, there is a RSVP page. Just go on there, register. You'll get the Zoom link, and you'll be able to join and discuss with the speakers today. And with that, Dave, just let me know when we have cut the stream.